Hello and welcome back to Shakesyear. We are working on Edmund Ironside, and we get to hear from the chorus today in Act 3, Scene 3, which is the only scene where the chorus exists. Because, well, I've got some thoughts on this. All of a sudden, apparently, we're in a Greek play because there needs to be some just flat-out exposition that happens here. So what's been going on just before? Canutus decided that it was time to attack Edmund Ironside in London. So he showed up at the gates of London and he was like, you know, come out and fight or let us in. And the bailiff at the gate is like, no, we're not doing that. So they start kind of attacking, but then Edmund comes out with a bunch of troops and starts counterattacking. There's a little bit of a skirmish, and Edmund and his troops chase Canutus and his troops off the stage. So Act 3, Scene 3, this chorus comes out, and this one, I'm just going to do it without the stage directions because there are chunks of stage directions in this, but I'll go back to those later. They're kind of explained in what the chorus is saying, as often happens. So anyway, the chorus monologue plus the stage directions that accompany it are the entirety of Act 3, Scene 3. So Act 3, Scene 3, the chorus comes out and says, "The fight is hot, but Canutus is overcome, and Edmund hunts him out from place to place. He flies to Worcester, Edmund follows him. The way is long, and I am waxen faint. I fain would have you understand the truth and see the battles acted on the stage, but that their length will be too tedious. Then in dumb shows, I will explain at large their fights, their flights, and Edmund's victory, for as they strived to conquer and to kill, even so we strive to purchase your goodwill. Canutus is beholding to the gracious sun, who, grieved to see such heaps of carcasses lie mangled and besmeared in their gore, made haste and went to rest before his time, so that the kings, for want of light, agreed to part until Aurora raised the lark. And now 'tis morning, and they join to fight. Edricus, perceiving Canutus to have the worst, and Edmund like to triumph in their fall, out of the bowels of a traitorous heart brought forth this subtle, dangerous stratagem. Whilst the two battles dealt the dole of death, and Edmund in the forefront stoutly fought, with words encouraging his soldiers, and with rude strokes discouraging the Danes, Edricus took up an English dead man's head, and sticking it upon his bloody sword, unto the vanward of King Edmund's troops, held his despiteful and most speedy course, telling the soldiers Edmund Ironside was slain, bidding the soldiers yield, or fly the field, and trust unto their heels. The soldiers, in amaze, began to fly. Then Edmund, hearing of this stratagem amongst the thickest of his enemies, gave notice that he lived a conqueror. His soldiers, taking heart, returned and fought. His enemies, despairing, run away. Edmund returns in triumph on the stage, but Canutus returns in passion and in rage. What after happens? With your patience, the entering actors gives intelligence. So I think this is interesting. This is the other thing that this brings to mind, other than just like a Greek chorus telling us what's going on so we don't have to like watch and sit through all of it, is also, did Shakespeare invent the montage? Here, this is sort of what I'm thinking. So the chorus comes out and he's like, okay, they're fighting and Canutus keeps retreating, but Edmund keeps following him. And he's like, and I would keep telling you all of the places that Canutus goes and then Edmund goes and defeats him there, but that's going to get really long and boring. So as much as they want to fight and kill each other, we want you, our audience, to not hate us. So we're going to show you all this in dumb shows. So like little pantomime things instead of making you sit through every single battle. So at that point, like, Canutus comes on stage and Edmund's chasing him, and then they talk for a second, and then they part, and that's when the description comes in that they would rather fight during daylight because they can actually see each other. And apparently the sun is so turned off by how many dead bodies are just strewn all over the ground that the sun went to bed early. It might have gotten cloudy, something. It got dark. So both sides were like, you know what, we'll call it off for tonight. We'll continue fighting tomorrow. So then the dumb show comes out again, because now it's morning and they're going to fight. And so Canutus comes in from one side and Edmund comes in from the other, and they fight, and Canutus runs away and Edmund's troops follow him, and we get back to this. But then the last bigger chunk of this that the chorus shares is Edricus being this sort of conniving dude. He can see that Canutus is losing and that it's most likely that Edmund is going to win. But so he's trying to change the tide, change the momentum of this fight. So while Edmund is over there fighting a whole bunch of Danes and doing really well, and he's encouraging his soldiers with his words, and he's striking down Danish enemies all over the place, Edricus over here goes and takes the head of a fallen English soldier and sticks it on his sword and goes riding through the English troops saying, "This is the head of Edmund Ironside. He's dead. We've won." Edmund, obviously this isn't his head. He hears that this is going on and he's like, "Hello, I am very much alive." And he says some nice things to his troops, and they rally. They had started to sort of run away when they thought that maybe he was dead and the battle was over. But he's like, "I'm not dead. I'm not dead yet." And they come back and they return and they keep fighting. And Canutus' side is rather discouraged by this whole thing, and they're losing, so they run away. So Edmund is going to come out and be very happy about the way that things are going. Canutus is going to be very angry about the way that things are going. And then in the last couple lines, the chorus is like, "And now we're ready to return you to your previously programmed play that you've come to see." So the actors are going to come out and they're actually going to take over from here. So I think this is fascinating, and I sort of love it that it isn't the typical, we're going to have a whole bunch of short scenes put together to create a war that happened in Shakespeare plays later. I think it's interesting that he uses this device of just having the chorus come out and have some dumb show happen to stage the fighting. It does feel a little bit to me like something that an earlier playwright or a playwright might do earlier in their career before they figure out how to really craft a war on stage. And I also love it that Edmund keeps winning and Canutus keeps losing. So then Edricus comes up with this bizarre plan to try to turn things around, but even that doesn't work. And Edmund is able to say "Nope, that's not my head. My head is right here, still attached to my body. So have at you." And he keeps fighting. And then immediately after this, Act 3, Scene 4 happens, which is a monologue from Edmund Ironside, which we will get to hear tomorrow. So I will see you then for that. Mwah.